This is Pear Ratings, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
This is cool. I love the world of baseball. And people talk about niches. Inside the niches, there are these nooks, and you can
hmm
fill those things with wonders. And when did you realize this was going to be what you did, man? Because your world is wonderful. I loved exploring it all week. Once we decided to have you on the show, yes, yeah. When did you know you were hooked? You had to do this.
Probably about a year ago. That's when I started. Um, Grew up loving baseball. I've always been around the game of baseball, and as I was growing up and my skills developed, um, I was able to kind of turn my love for baseball and math into something useful, and started posting that a year ago ish, and I've just been kind of building on it from then.
When you do something like this, you want people to care about what you do. A lot of times when this happens, especially if you're on X, a lot of people that hate you just for your own very existence, the possibility that you've thought outside of the box, that you disagree in some minor way, makes people crazy.
hmm
And have you experienced, you surely have experienced this, where someone's like, "You're stupid
Oh
alien, get
yeah,
out of here," kick you out of the room.
yeah. I It's happened quite a few times. I mean, that's kind of the nature of sometimes when you post like rankings or something that like you do a top 25 and
Sure.
someone's team isn't number one, they're not happy about it. And especially when that turns into like it's a math-based formula and it may not make exact sense to like what you're watching on the field in football or baseball. Um, someone will take offense to that. Um, Maybe a great example is last year I posted my end of year like rankings from my process after the college baseball season, and it ended
Yeah.
up with Arkansas number one and LSU number two, even after LSU won the national championship and beat Arkansas twice on the way to doing that. Um, that's just the nature of it. You
Yeah.
you have a formula that you develop and like, and you stick to it, even if it may not make the most sense to a lot of people who are just watching and not doing that.
I've realized so many things. I mean, I've arrived at baseball at 56. I've been watching baseball and studying baseball forever and ever and ever, and I still just find all kinds of amazing things that should have been obvious, but just no one had, or if anyone had, no one gained any traction with this number or that number. And these are straightforward things, and it's amazing. So you must have your mind blown all the time, like mine does, like I do. I'm always like, what? Wait, how can this be? And then I'll go back and, despite what everybody else says in X, I double check my work. I come at it from the other direction, like you do with math things. Is this
Mhm.
true? And you come in the other door, and you're like, oh, I'm in the same room.
Yep.
It happens all the time, right? Doesn't it?
hmm Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, one of those that I just had was, I don't know if you saw, I posted something that I dubbed the kill shot,
yeah,
kind of taken from Evan Maya and what he does in the college basketball space. And is thinking of like, how can I apply this to college baseball? And I was
yeah.
messing around with it one night and found out that you just need uh, a shutdown inning and you score 2+ runs. And if you do that first, you win almost 80% of the time. And if you do it more than the other team, it's something like 92%. And it's one of those things that's like it's so simple that it's kind of mind blowing that it's the stat that predicts so much.
Yeah, boy, that is going to get you into trouble. I can hear it already. I have discovered similar things on the major league side where I'm really big on. Okay, so let me just try this on you.
hmm
If you don't play a game, you don't rate to be better than anybody else because you weren't there, right?
Yep.
So if a player is out half of the year, you can say, "Oh, but by rate, they got on base more." And then Pete would say, "Or they didn't because there's a whole fucking season and they played half of it." No knock on the player, injuries happen, everything else. But there is value to attendance. And this hurts people's hearts and brains, the fact that attendance matters. And we tend to race to, what if you're a terrible player and you play the whole year? I would say that tends to police itself. Some people are on reputation and they get to play a little longer. And I don't know if this applies to college as much, but if you aren't good, at some point you leave the field, and that's just
Yep.
it.
Yeah, I mean, especially in such a short season of college baseball, coaches are trying to plug and play with such big or not such, but decently sized rosters. Um, that like if you have a bad week or two, your spot could be in jeopardy. But sometimes, obviously, you might know the saying, availability or the best ability is availability. You
Right.
know,
Right.
making sure you're there and you can actually play is sometimes even more valuable.
And again, I don't know if this applies to the shorter college season and just just the lack of all these games, but um, it's not just the avail. I call it attendance now, but not just
Hmm.
attendance, but residency at this position. So if you're rotating in and out of center field, that indicates to me that there's probably not a prime center fielder on that team. There's some kind of compromise being made. Now, look, it's a younger person game in college, but if you play 162 games in center field, you might give up some innings. Every now and then you get a little break. You might give up, a game every third Sunday to get a break. But if you're there playing in all those games, you're going to be more valuable than almost every center fielder in the game because you just have the attendance, and then also you're at the position. And so to be the best at the position, you have to earn the slot, and you're not going to give too many innings to somebody who's not great in center field in this case.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense. And even, I mean, you see a lot more in college that people will move around a lot and try and find the best lineup for the team at that point. And a lot of times people don't stay in the same position. Uh, you try and find the hot bat. You try and find, like, okay, does this team need more offense right now or more defense? And then the coach will likely shuffle around the lineup to make that work. Um, but I get the sentiment that you're saying in MLB. Um,
Yeah.
like obviously, if you're there and you're attending and you're also playing a lot of games, you must be pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. The concept of attendance, but also that presence in at the position. When we rate things, just seems like an obvious thing to me, and I know it's pretty extreme for some folks. But if I'm going to rate center fielders, I'm not going to count the games you played at third base because then you're a third baseman. And so, like Albert Pujols has all these games at third base, and then some games on left field. Okay, let's set those aside. If we're talking first base, let's just talk first base.
Hmm.
But is that too extreme? It's fine to disagree too. Is that too extreme for you?
In the college game, yeah, like
Okay.
you need you need as much data as you possibly can. You cannot be throwing data out um, based on position, really, because you think about it, you've got like even the best of the best that you have there. They may be there for 2 or 3 years,
Mhm.
and in a season you may be playing 20 games. So
Okay.
we're talking about, or 60 games. So you may be talking about 120 games over the course of their college career that they're playing, and that's obviously less than a full MLB season. So
Right.
you can't be having that same mindset in the college game. Um, Now, if you're doing some sort of specific analysis, maybe, but in general, you just can't be throwing out like their at bats when they're center field versus their at bats when they're at first base. It's just
Sure.
not something that you can conceivably do when you're trying to say, is this player better than this other player?
I'm going to bring Brian in here in a second, but I wanted us to clarify this a little bit then. If you were going to evaluate center fielders, you're saying you'd have to still include those innings at first base and DH because the sample size is just too small, or would you approach evaluating center fielders in some other ways to really focus on center field?
I lost you for part of that. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm just saying. Okay, so in college, if you wanted to evaluate center fielders, would
Mhm.
you include all at bats, including at bats at third base, first base, DH, or would you approach evaluating center fielders specifically in a different manner?
I would take all of their at bats,
Okay.
and I mean, once you get towards the end of the season in college baseball, you'll definitely have um, your true center fielders who don't actually move. But
Right.
I mean, the lineup changes so much in college
Right.
baseball,
Okay.
and I keep going back to like, you know, there's just so much less data that you have in this game, like especially now with how the transfer portal works and how often rosters turn over. Like you're seeing where it's truly just a 60 game or less season with this team before you get a completely new team. So if you're
Right.
talking about comparing X player to Y player, if you're better or worse, like you're not going to be able to just say, all right, here's the only the games that you played center field compared to this other player and the games that they only played center field. Like maybe if you're doing a specific analysis on
Mm,
just the position, yes, but if you're trying to talk about if a player is better than another player, I just don't think that's a conceivable way to go about it.
perfect. Brian, welcome to the show. The guy puts a smile on my face all the time. There it is. I'm hanging out with you, man. Thanks for being on. We just got started a little bit, a few minutes ahead of you. We just talked a little bit about kill shots, but not dug in deep yet on those. So I just wanted to catch you up. And everybody else, thank you all for watching. Brian, what do you have for the pair and pair ratings in general? Oh, I don't hear you.
I
Your
don't
mic
either.
is muted. Your mic is muted. And still muted. All right, you're going to work on that. And as soon as you get your voice back, I'm going to.
What
Oh,
about now?
There we
now we
go.
got you. There he is. Yeah.
Nice.
Welcome to the show.
All right. Yeah, I'm not huge into college baseball, but yeah, I thought about that. The sample sizes when I found your stuff, like that's really trial by fire, man. You don't have a lot of sample sizes to work with. You've really got to dig in and find the little advantages wherever you can. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and a lot of the work that I do is just aggregated at the team level. So a lot of the stuff that I post and are that's just around it, for me at least, is at the team level, just because you get more data there, and it just makes it easier to say, is this team better than this other team? Um, and I'm still pretty early in my journey doing this, so I haven't had the chance to expand to that player level data that I really want to. Um, it's one, it's very difficult to get that data for college baseball,
Yeah.
and two, it's just a sample size that you've always got to take it with a grain of salt, and you've got to understand that you know this freshman that played 12 games, how do you project him for his next year? It's very difficult to do that. um, it's just an uphill battle, kind of, that you may not experience as much in Major League Baseball.
How much data do you have on stuff like bat speed and exit velocity and all that stuff?
Zero.
None.
It just
Dang.
does not exist.
Nice.
um,
I mean, that makes
you
it
know,
tough.
yeah, you may get, like, in college baseball, every once in a while you'll play tournaments at major league ballparks. So like there's a big one in Arlington at the Rangers. There's big ones at Minute Maid, or what was Minute Maid, in Houston. Um, and you'll get glimpses of how nice it is to have that data, and you get to see it. But by and large, it just does not exist in
Yeah.
college baseball.
Yeah, not having that stuff, that's tough. But I mean, like I said, it's only gonna make you better, dude, because it's hard work. You're doing all the hard
Um,
stuff already.
yeah, I would love it for eventually in college baseball we have something like that where, well, a lot of the big programs have TrackMan data that they have. It's just not any type of deal to share it ever. So
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
you just don't
I imagine
don't
not.
have access to it.
When you have, it seems to me, when you have access to that level of detail, how many times the ball rotates on the way to the plate, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
we tend to get fixated on that. So if you have a high exit velocity, when you hit the ball, you get to draw everybody's attention. But then there's 27 other dudes who are comparably good who don't have that, and somehow they're managing to do it, right? So that the ability to see, because it's one thing to say, here are the 5 best players, and they have these outrageous exit velocities, but there's all these other guys that are going to get drafted that are fantastic, and probably won't add a lot of exit velocity as they go along. So what do we do to evaluate these guys? And then when they are doing it, it's one thing like if someone doesn't perform, but if they are performing and those numbers don't line up, it kind of breaks our brains.
Yeah, and I mean that if you're talking about like a front office and you're trying to evaluate someone that's good for you to draft, like I I'm a firm believer that you need to make a lot of your decisions in person, watching someone, and then the data is supplemental to that. Um, because, like you said, like the top draft prospects that you're going to take, like they're all going to have very comparable exit velocities. They're all going to be like the best at their position, obviously, because they're so high on the boards already. You need
Mm.
to you need to be in person, seeing like what does their swing look like? Can you build off of it? Can you teach them to do something? Um, are they projected to grow? Do they have more weight they can put on? Like, is there something else that you can unlock there? So, like in my head, I always think of like if you're going to draft someone, it needs to be, what do you see first, and then what does their data say about them?
Brian?
Yeah, I'm curious. I had a buddy that coached high school baseball for a long time, and like probably 6 or 7 years ago, we were talking, and he said that there was a big small ball push going on in college baseball, and there was like a big exodus of guys from MLB going down to college and everything. Is that kind of still happening? Like 3-hole guys bunting, cleanup guys bunting. Is that still happening, or is that over?
I mean, it depends on what league you're looking at. If you're looking at these power conferences, really like the SEC, ACC, like you will not be seeing that. Like these guys are there to hit bombs. That's that's the idea. Like you're not. I mean, you'll still see it because the game is different than the MLB, but by and large, you're letting your hitters that you pay to be there swing away and try and hit the ball as far as they can. But if you're getting into like some of the mid majors and some of the smaller leagues and some of the smaller programs, that's absolutely there. Um, where you can have teams that will drop a bunt in any position, any spot, any time of the game, any game state. That'll happen. It really depends on where you're looking at in college baseball. Um, like if you're like I said, if you're looking at the high level leagues and the SEC, ACC, Big 12, like that's just not happening as much.
Yeah, I saw the
I would say
average
that.
age of the college baseball player is like 22 now, and like 5 years ago it was 20. I mean, that's across all sports, but
Yeah, that's
yeah.
how it's going. That's how it's trending.
Is that
Yeah,
because baseball is so hard to develop? Like it's so unreliable, the path from high school to the major leagues?
I
What,
just
what
think
drives that age?
I just think it's a lot of the rule changes that you're seeing in college sports as a whole. I mean, you're seeing where people can transfer much more easily and go to different programs. Like, say you're at a smaller school, you can transfer just like that to a bigger school and help your draft stock even more. And a big portion of it is money. Like, you've got players that can be paid to stay in school, and it'll be comparable sometimes to some of the later rounds in the draft. Um, so it just makes more sense for these college guys to transfer somewhere to a big school, get their name out there more, and improve their draft stock rather than doing it in the minor leagues. And especially because some of these high level programs that you see have much better facilities and much better programs than you'll see in the minor leagues. Like you will get developed better at some of these programs than you will in the minor leagues. And that's a pitch that coaches will make along with the money,
Mm.
and it works because it's true. Like you've got full staffs at these big programs. You've got all the technology in the world that you would want in the building, and you, if you go to a big school, you will get developed.
When you look at these things, how important, and you tell me, because I really don't know this part of the game, but is the ball the same across all of NCAA baseball teams?
I think
And
it's
yeah, go ahead.
I think it is across all of the NCAA. I know
Yeah.
it's different than the MLB ball. I don't remember how off the
Hmm.
top of my head.
Yeah. Well, and
With
even
the
then, can
teams.
you see in the data the difference year to year in what the ball is? And I'm not trying to say anybody changes it, but balls have a bandwidth where they stick within, and that bandwidth evolves over time. The other thing is bats. Do you track, or does anybody track bats and bat quality?
I'm sure that exists. I do not have access to that. And
Yeah,
I would, just my own inclination is I would point to bats more than balls in college baseball, because you've got the metal bats, you've got like these companies trying to engineer as much as they can
yeah.
into these bats, make them as hot as possible, like have the ball jumping. Um, but I don't have any data to back that up that I can point to. I'm sure the NCAA tracks it. I'm sure these teams track it, but I do not.
Is it beyond? Because I've known a couple of college grade managers for baseball teams, and they do all kinds of interesting things because they're kind of the heads groundkeeper. They,
Yep.
especially at the smaller schools. And it would not surprise me at all to find out that they were. I mean, who controls the quality of the balls at the game level? I mean, is that the umpires? Who owns that? I mean, like, why
I
wouldn't
will.
that manager just dunk a bunch of baseballs into a bucket and be like, "Today's ground ball, no run date." But
I mean, I don't know. Maybe people do that, but I would assume that there's some sort of rule from the NCAA that says you need to buy this ball and you need to treat it
right.
this way. But I'm pretty sure it's on the teams to supply them and bring them.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, major high school and travel ball vibes there.
Yeah, yeah,
Bring your
yeah.
own.
Well, if you can get your guys drafted, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's just a lot of yeah, it's a lot of competition. Everything can become a competition, right? And baseball is
Hmm.
an area where you can be creative with how you interpret the rules, especially if no one's going to enforce them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's interesting. Brian, what do you got?
Says what I'm reading here is that college baseballs have higher seams.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in college, Pear?
Did we lose the pair?
Did we lose a pair? Pear gone.
There. All right. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Pear don't got a face.
Yeah. Pair got cut down by the NCAA. Like, that's it. Pulling the
Yeah.
plug. It's the old classic thing to say. What do you think, Brian? Like, would it be like it's not above any manager of a college baseball program to do something with the field, the ball, anything to gain an advantage,
Yeah.
especially if like Johnny Badass was coming to town. How do we do what we can? I just feel like that there's a lot
You guys
just a
hear me?
lot of desire to win. Hey, you're
Yeah, we
back.
hear you.
I have no clue what just happened.
That's all right. That's all right. Go ahead, Brian.
So you're in college?
I am not. So I'm graduated.
Oh no shit.
What's your statistics background? Like, did you take research methods, or what did you do?
I took a lot of statistics classes in college, but I mean mainly it's just spawned from a love of baseball,
Yeah,
and like obviously baseball is a game that space is so big. There's just so much you can do in the game of baseball with stats. So it's always been something that um, has interested me.
yeah. It seems that we both have an affinity for in-game events and their impact on baseball. That's what your kill shot is.
Yep.
Pete would say, I've got this thing called W high WPAG, so the winning percentage added
Hmm.
and per game. And if you zoom in, and it takes a lot of work to do this, and you go moment to moment in a game, you can see when the biggest moments are happening or
Yep.
collected. Pitchers more collect small moments to make one big gain, whereas a hitter's timing is a little more important. So
Yep.
timing is more important on the hitting side, and then baseball on the pitching side, it's the drip, drip, drip of quality,
Yep.
innings and outs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's not the win probability is something that does not really exist in college baseball. There's been a couple people who have written articles of like in theory about
sure.
it, but I mean you need to first make a win probability model, which is something that will be very difficult to do in college baseball. Like
Okay.
there's no easy way to just get game state at a certain time and parse the play-by-play data to do that. Um, and also you largely don't have the run expectancy table for the same reasons. Um, so that's a very difficult and very small scale thing that you can do in college baseball. And there's not really a, a model anywhere that I know of, at least, that does that.
Why don't you have run expectancy tables?
You just don't have enough data to do it. I mean, it it's very difficult to get. Well, let me back up.
Yeah.
Run expectancy tables do exist in college baseball, and I'm sure some of the bigger companies out there, like 643 Charts or D1 Baseball, have that. That
Mm,
is very difficult data for someone like me or someone just on
yeah.
their own to do, because I will have to go parse tons and tons of play-by-play data that is not easy to get and not easy to find,
Mm.
and then build that out.
Hmm.
Um, it's a that would be a very large undertaking.
So like the base out values in college baseball would be different than MLB.
I think so.
Yeah, I'd imagine they would, but I didn't know it would be like that different. You know what I mean? That you couldn't just basically go off like what
I'm sure
Fangraphs.
you could and use
Huh.
it and be mostly fine, but I know for a fact that some of these college baseball specific companies have their own that they do, and if they're doing it, then that obviously means that they think there's some sort of value of doing it specifically for college baseball rather than just the MLB.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting the way with
Yeah.
aluminum bats and the game being
Yep.
slightly different. It's just interesting to think about how the run base out values and run expectancy values would change. It's interesting that to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Especially as we get more into like these players are getting bigger and stronger and the bats, like you're seeing more home runs every year. And I mean, even with how some of the smaller teams played small ball, like we talked about earlier, like that'll impact it as well. So I mean, if you're doing broad strokes things, I'm sure an MLB run expectancy would be
Yeah.
fine. And I mean, even still, you've got like you look at college games and the drop off of pitchers from a Friday or Saturday night to a Sunday or a Tuesday game. It's
Mm.
incredible how different that is, and
Yeah.
that'll play a large part of this. Because I mean, you're taking hitters that are able to hit arms that are likely going to be drafted in the big leagues to someone who will not get drafted or will
Yeah.
just stay in the lower leagues of the minor league system. So that's it's just such a stark difference that you will see,
Mm.
um, just based on the pitching that you see. Is like in the MLB, every guy you roll out there, I mean, obviously there's a difference in how good they are, but every guy you roll out there is going to be good. They're in the MLB for a reason. Like
Yeah.
they were the best player on their college team, high school team, all the way through.
Right.
But you'll see in college baseball, you just don't have that depth of arm, and
Yeah.
it'll make a big difference.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and it's just like thinking about like I saw on your page you were looking for stuff for D2, D3, NAIA, and
Yep.
just going back to like run expectancy and everything like that. Like like if you can't hit home runs, that's going to affect your bases on ball. That's going to affect your strikeouts because those three, you know what I mean, go
Yep.
hand in hand.
Yeah. True
And that's
outcomes.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how that was going to change. How much it'd just be interesting to see how much the run expectancy values could change if someone ever put it together for, a league like that or a division like that.
Yeah.
Hmm. If anyone could ever do it, like you said, it's hard to do. I can only
Yeah,
imagine.
that's another question too. Is populating spreadsheets as you sort of ferret out what a number might be. That's just a lot of time and work. I was hand looking at every box score from a season to try to figure out what value was because
Hmm.
I kept seeing like the most valuable player being the biggest name in the game, which makes sense. There's some correlation there, but what's valuable? And that like last year we had Shohei Ohtani be unanimous for the Hank Aaron Award and the MVP, but we didn't talk about the team that had the most wins in the Brewers. And I know that winning is valuable, and so you go on these journeys, and let me tell you about the hours I put in doing that. Like it's almost an addiction when you do that. And oh my gosh, so you must find yourself sitting in a chair just for hours, just hand entering information or cutting and pasting in some kind of way, managing Excel to get things to go into a spreadsheet and have the spreadsheet behave the way you want it to.
Yeah, I do a lot of my work actually in code
Oh,
in
okay.
Python. So I'll do like almost all of my data gathering that I do is scraping, um, and taking from some aggregated source like the NCAA.
Hmm.
Um, but there's still a ton of time and hours that go into doing that and formatting it and making sure that it's right and dealing with like, hey, this one team doesn't have any data showing up, why is that, and having to go find it. um, I spend so much time on data quality and trying to make sure that everything's right and everything's pulling in correctly. And like I do 7 sport division combos, like D1,
Hmm.
D2, D3 NAIA college baseball, and then D1, 2, and 3 softball. And like all 7 of those will have their own unique challenges, and you'll have the teams that change names, teams that don't play anymore, teams that get added in a year that you have to consider and bring in and make sure their data is right. You have to go find and scrape each team's page to get their schedule if you want that to see results. So there's a ton of work that goes into data quality and data gathering. And I'd say that's like almost 95% of my work now.
What is your error rate? Because I know mine is pretty. I'm like, God damn it. Like I just tried to run a report earlier today, and I'm like, oh my goodness, these are interesting findings. And I'm like, oh God damn it, I did it wrong.
Yeah,
And
I
there's all the time.
all the time.
Yeah,
It's all the time. Like
yeah.
I especially now, like seasons are kicking off for college baseball.
Mhm.
Last week and in a couple weekends, like this is like maybe the worst time of the year to be doing it, just because
Mhm.
you've got so many things that change from year to year and so many things that like to break. And yeah, it's all the time. Like I'll try and get a data update and then there'll be like 7 different things that are wrong. I have to go track those down and be like, why are you not behaving right now?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely can share in that.
I know I call Brian sometimes and I want to do a sanity check. He's for sure had this phone call come from me. And I'm like, is this even making any sense what I'm saying? You know, like, or have I talked myself into a corner over here? Because it's important to me that I'm not the only guy in the room that's coming up with this stuff, especially when I'm finding such, I would call them interesting, but, sometimes impossible, like realizations. Like, this can't be true. Is this true? Have I? And so I'll call Brian and I'll say, here's the premise. Here's what I've done. And I always put a logic test to these things,
Hmm.
kind of a series of if thens or just known facts. Like
Yep.
winning is more valuable than losing. I know this hurts people's hearts, but it just is, right?
Controversial.
So, yeah, apparently. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't believe it, but that's sort of one of the ways I check too. Is I've got my my beta readers, my beta testers. Like, does this make sense? Am I missing something? And even if Brian disagrees and thinks I'm crazy, he'll at least kind of give me what he thinks on something.
Yeah, I mean, I'll post it onto Twitter, and if I get good responses, then I know I'm onto something. Is essentially the feedback loop that I get, and that was something I was worried about with a kill shot of
Yeah,
getting too close to the line of like, well, obviously scoring more runs means you win a baseball game. Like
sure.
anyone can make that argument. 100% of the games played, this team that scored more runs wins, right?
Right.
Um, and since people kind of agreed with my logic there of the kill shot, and you know thought it made sense in their own applications, kind of justified the track that I was on and let me go deeper into it.
Yeah, dude, you're hardcore. Your site's really nice too. Your site's really easy to navigate. Everything. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Thank you. A lot of work goes into that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's really important, dude. Having your stuff be easy to read and everything. That's huge.
Is
Yeah,
there an in play with all of this? Are you like, if I'm going to do this work and this is going to turn into something, you probably have an idea, but if someone came along, or maybe someone has, and said, "Hey, help us," right? Like, is that the vision?
yeah. I mean, in in college baseball, there's so many people who cover the game out of just a love for it,
Right.
and there's so many people that spend so much time and energy writing articles about this team and talking to the coaches and trying to get any bit of insight that they can write about. So yeah, absolutely. I always tell people that want to use my stuff and talk to me about it. I'm like, go for it. Like I know
Mhm.
how difficult it would be to do this for someone, and I know sometimes how valuable it can be for someone who's just browsing college baseball and things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, I whenever I'm thinking of something or putting something on the website or on Twitter, I'm like everything that I put out, I want people to use and have free use of and be able to take and do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
That's why I like on the website you might notice that everything that I post has like the export CSV function on there. That's
Sure.
just like anyone can take the data and use it and do what they want with it. Like I welcome and encourage that because I know how much work I had to put in to get to this point and make it right. So
Yeah.
if I can help someone do that, it's great.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's
Yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, and you got to be able to show your work, right? You know, because
Hmm.
there are and rightfully so. You got to be able to say, "This is how I put this together. This is the theory. This is the concept." And sure, you're going to have people that just cannot accept reality. But that aside, I want to see more of what you come up with, like the kill shot idea, right? Like I've got a similar thing. I'm
Yeah,
because I like game in game. What happened on the field? I don't care how
Yeah.
fast they spun the bat. Like that's important. But if you have a 2 RBI game, guess what? That correlates really well to winning.
Yep.
It's sort of a kill shot of sorts, right? And maybe I can tighten that up to get it even more pure. But already, it's like it's so compelling. If you have a 2 RBI game, it's like what it's above a 650 winning percentage. It's often above 720, right? So
Yep.
it's powerful if you drive. And so, does that make RBI a skill? I don't know, but I do know that that outcome means your team's probably going to win. And if I
Yeah.
have 100 of those games, I'm going to win most of those games.
Yeah.
And then there's all the other games when we just win for other reasons.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of the times what I look to do just because that's kind of the confine that I'm in with the
Yeah,
data that I have and just looking to what happened in the game. Um, just because I don't have access to some of those advanced stats that people may put out.
right. Yeah,
and when a guy is in an RBI situation, you're going to get that pitcher's best stuff too. So
Yeah.
that's a good indicator that a batter can hit velocity or that he can hit the guy's best stuff. You know.
Yep. Sometimes the best stat is just how will you score and prevent runs.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, those things tend to be powerful. It must be also true for you then that you've realized the narrowness between the greatest player and like the 100th greatest player. Like they aren't
Yep.
different, right? And again, this hurts our hearts. Like, no, these guys are nothing alike. Actually, they're more alike than the guy who's on the other end of the standard deviation. Okay, like the guy who's 2 standard deviations away from on the negative side is nothing
Mhm.
like the player who's in the same quadrant.
Yeah, that's a little bit different in college baseball. There's
Okay.
definitely a tiering system that you will see, um, and maybe it's the top 50 that
Right.
are very similar, and then maybe it's even the top 10 and then the top 3. There are definitely very clear delineations between groups of players that you get
Mm-hmm.
into. Um, it's very much not at all like the MLB in that sense.
Mm,
Like you will see players that just dominate just because they are better than everyone, and that's just not necessarily how it works in MLB. I mean, maybe a case you can speak to is Paul Skeens. Like you talk about what he did in 2023 at LSU, and like that's just not something that's going to happen again, just because that's how much better he was than everyone else who was playing. Or another example, if you want to throw up some stats at some point, if you want to look at 2021 Kevin Kopps at Arkansas and look at what he did, I mean, it's just unbelievable the numbers that you can put up when you have a great season in college baseball versus like what you're talking about in MLB is sometimes there's really not that big of a gap between these players. Right.
yeah. That's interesting. And I guess it makes sense. I would say that in Major League Baseball, and we'll just talk offensive players, this is the thing I commonly say. There are 300 positions for players that hold a bat for a living. 300. And there are not 300 people that play a full season. So there's, let's say, add a little better than half of those guys do that. So there's still 100 jobs at least where someone's filling in a role and not capable of holding it the whole year for whatever reason, quality, injury, both, whatever. Then
Mm-hmm.
there's some guys like Nick Kurtz who don't qualify, or Giancarlo Stanton who don't qualify, and they're obviously great, except for they don't play as many games as someone who's there. And so all of a sudden you kind of get this cluster of players that have a high level of quality, but they're still not completing all of the innings that are available. And so the other players have to come in and fill that role for a variety of reasons. So you the when someone says a player is, so and so better than average, well, who the fuck is average? Like,
Yeah.
who's that guy? Is it Rance Mullinick standing out there at third base? Like, I'm average. I don't know. It's so hard to decide that it requires, in my mind, a lot of subjectivity to figure out and I can't imagine an NCAA what that player is, because there's just more space for a role player or a
Yep.
particular kind of team player. Like if you're a guy that just
Absolutely.
does everything to win and the manager loves you because you're the heart and soul of the team, you're going to play more than you ever would in the major leagues.
Absolutely. And that happens all the time. You can point to so many times that there's just a guy who will go out there and fill a spot on the diamond and go play second base one day, left field another day, third base or DH or whatever, just
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
he's important to the team and can hit and can field. Um, and sometimes that's because you just think that person's so good. And sometimes it's because you don't have that many people that you can actually put on the field and, you know, produce. So you need to have this person on the field in any shape that you can get them on the field.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes the college game is just so different in the sense that you're trying to get the max amount out of a player in short bursts in such a
Okay.
short season,
Yeah.
and it's it's hard to make that same parallel because
Yeah.
I mean, you say all the time you see someone have a great start and then kind of taper off to the end, and well, you can't wait and like let them hit out of a slump that you may do in
Right.
an
Yes.
MLB, and
Yeah.
you just gotta make a change and put who you like and move the lineup around and get what you get.
Yeah.
So like
How
getting the
much?
most out of a guy. Sorry, Pete. I'm looking
You
at
go.
Kevin Kopp's 2021 season. He had 33 games. He was a reliever, 33 games, 90 innings pitched. Is that a pretty normal thing where guys are throwing three innings per relief outing?
No,
No.
that is not. And what's special about Cops is you look at some of his other numbers that you talk about, like strikeouts and walks. 131 strikeouts to 18 walks in 90 innings.
Wow.
I mean, you talk about a 0.9 ERA in 90 innings. He had 12 wins and 11 saves.
Jeez.
Yeah, hell of a year.
Yeah, and 33 appearances. So sometimes
I hear the quality. I also hear the quantity. And so, what do major league teams think about that? I mean, that's the game, right? Like you got to go out and grab the ball and throw. But
yeah. Well, in Kevin Kops's case, he's a like 60-year guy who doesn't really throw all that hard, but has just an unhittable pitch. And so you take a chance on that pitch and see how it develops in minor league ball. But I mean, I pull up Kevin Kopps and think about him, and he's just such a severe outlier in the case of college baseball. And what do you think? And that's why I pulled him, is because he had such a great year and an example of how the talent dispersion may happen in college baseball that's different than MLB baseball, or MLB baseball,
Sure.
the MLB.
Yeah, interesting. And what is age? How does that affect? Because when you've got players that are prescient, they just get there so early and they're already ready to go. That's a sign of greatness compared to someone who's in their 60th year. They're getting a master's degree and they're crushing the ball at 22 years old against 18-year-olds, or whatever the average age is. What is the average age of a college baseball player?
I do not know off the top of my head, and it's got to be keep trending older. But I mean, yeah, sometimes it's funny. You see people will come out with like the best seniors in college baseball, and it's like, well, you're only a senior because you either had an injury or you weren't good enough to be drafted high, so you kind of had to stick around for another year. But sometimes that means that you just get another year to blossom and do great stuff. And there's been a ton of players and a ton of examples that you'll see of someone who stayed the extra year, whether it be senior year or fifth year, dominated, got a better draft stock, and ended up doing great.
Yeah. The next guy to go to the independent league and come up, or go to the Mexican league and learn the Moscar or whatever it is, whatever kind of pitch they come up with, and it just for their physicality sometimes, right? Like a person is adapted. I don't know if you guys probably don't remember, but Jeffrey Hammonds played baseball. I think it was Jeffrey Hammonds, and they realized one day that he didn't have an ACL anymore. It had snapped sometime, like in college or whatever, and they're like, "Well, no wonder your leg always hurts." But he was able to play with like this significant that takes people out, and I think it was his ACL. It was something that significant though, where he played, and it was like, yeah, not that big of a deal. He had adapted to it, and that physicality and the maturation that happens in college. I mean, I was a way bigger dude when I was 27 than when I was 19. I just physically kept growing.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see that happen all the time. Where, I mean, obviously, a lot of these kids are 18. And you can think about how much you might grow between 18 and 19, and 19 to 20, and 20 to 21, and just that natural progression of, hey, you're playing more, so you might be getting better, but also you're getting bigger and stronger, and just makes it easier to play.
How do you sniff that out? The guy who's just better because he's cagier and better at college baseball versus the guy who has broken out and is going to be higher on the draftable list.
I mean, I like to think of it as the classic, like you think about a dirtbag that plays baseball, who just does the little things, and the guy who can, on a 1-2 count, hit a slider the other way and get on base, get a single. Like those are the guys that you might think about that stay a little bit longer versus, I mean, when you see an MLB prospect in college baseball, a large amount of time they just pop. Like you can just tell. You watch a game and you'll be like, okay, this guy just looks different. There is a certain look about a player, whether you see him on TV or see him in person, of like this guy just looks different.
Right.
And
Right.
they could be any age, and they could be a freshman coming in, they could be a junior in their draft year, they could be a senior, staying the extra year. And sometimes you just look and like this guy does something different, and it's just hard to quantify that other than like you just watch him and it's like,
Mm.
yeah, this makes sense. Like we see why he's a draft prospect.
Yeah. That's when you watch these guys play, and I don't know how much baseball you watch. I'll just use because I know Major League Baseball better. There's
Mhm.
often a difference of a quarter of a hit a week or a ball going by somebody once a week. So over the course of 6 months, you've got, whatever it is, 25 balls that go by somebody. And we throw up our hands and say, worst fielder ever, right? Or,
Yeah.
the Padres pitched better this year than last year, but I'm told that Arise is a terrible defensive player, right? And so how did they pitch better this year? Well, there's so many data points. It's hard to know. And it's awful hard to see an extra hit and a half a week, when you play 7 games in the case of Major League Baseball. It's just very tough to see that and track and know that unless you look at the numbers, in in the rear.
I think in college baseball you can almost feel it more
Okay.
when you're watching a team and you're watching a lot of it. You can almost feel when a team is struggling,
Mhm.
or they're having a tough time, and you can see kind of the momentum of the game. And then also sometimes that's just the makeup of the team that's going to come around and play. Like under a certain coach, these are the players that they're going to recruit, and these are the players that they're going to have, and those are the fundamentals that they like, and then they're just going to keep getting that over and over, and that's the team that they roll out. Like if we think about Tony Vitello in
Mm.
Tennessee now with the Giants, you think about his teams in college, like those guys were going to throw hard and they were going to hit bombs. Like that's what they were coming there to do. They were not coming there
Right.
to necessarily play great defense. They weren't coming there to steal bases. They weren't coming there to hold runners on base. They were coming there to do the extremes of the game very well.
Okay.
They were coming there to throw 100 miles an hour and 90-mile-an-hour sliders and hit 15 to 20 home runs in a 50-game season. So,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the time, you can also just see it in the way that the coaches build their rosters.
Yeah. Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah. That's incredible. Can you see tendencies in terms of draft and what organizations like which universities?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you'll see, like, you'll see a lot of the players transferring to the SEC. Like, the SEC will hoard talent.
Okay.
And if you are a junior who's staying an extra year, you're more than likely going to the SEC. If you're a top freshman in the country and you're
Interesting.
committing somewhere, you're probably
Yeah.
going to the SEC. Um, so if you want to point to universities that are doing it, you just point to the SEC. And like those guys, year in and year out, will produce high level draft picks. And then if you want to go a step further, the next league that you may go to is the ACC. And they develop guys very well, and they'll put out a good quantity of draft prospects,
Right.
and they'll have the upper echelon, but they won't have the quantity of that the SEC may have. But to answer the question, I go more to leagues than anything. You can get more specific with teams within the leagues, but if you just look at the talent acquisition in college baseball and how that works, it all flows to the ACC and then up to the SEC.
Yeah. Fascinating. You got any final questions at all, Brian?
No.
Before we wrap this up? Yeah. That's super interesting, man. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on and talking about it.
Yep.
Besides the kill shot, is there any other big finding that you've got that you just fallen in love with?
I mean, the kill shot's the one that may be most applicable to kind of what you guys look at and talk about. I mean, I love one thing I can talk about is something that goes into my model for like the rating of teams of um, how good a team is the
Mm.
left on base percent.
Mm.
That's been one that just the number of base runners that fail to score. It's one that often pops up as a pretty good predictor of team success,
Wow.
and kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like
Yeah.
if you're letting hitters on base, how often can you strand them and just leave them there? Makes sense for it to correlate pretty well to wins.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, there's just these obvious numbers that once you put them together, I know I kind of think, am I the first person to ever come up with this little formula and then run it through a spreadsheet? And it's amazing the things you can find out and like just things that correlate well or whatever. It's Are they useful? I don't know. But when you find a little bit of elegance, it seems like the statistical universe for baseball just expands all the time. And there's
Yep.
all these little planets that someone just owns, and you come and talk to them, and I have my mind blown. Like that's like today with you and all the stuff at college baseball. It's fantastic. Thanks for coming on the show, Brian.
Yep.
Anything in closing before we wrap it up?
Thanks, man.
Yeah, of course.
No, it was really cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. The pair. Anything you want to say in closing before we wrap it up?
Pair.
The pair. It's interesting that that's what I'm colloquially known as. But yeah, I mean, I do college baseball. I've got a nice fancy website that I post almost all my stuff to. If you like college baseball, I'm a good person to follow for that.
Definitely, it's a nice website too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then you can follow it. So let me just put your thing up here. So there's their website right there. And then on X, it's real simple. You just type in Pear Ratings.
Yep.
That's how to do this stuff, right? It's just not that hard. We just know how to do it. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for all the work. And look, if no one else tells you, thank you for doing all this damn work. It's fucking not easy. It's not easy.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah. All right, I'm going to put this link up here for everybody so you guys can see his @handle on X. A great place, very engaging, so you can always get a hold of Pear Ratings.
It's true.
Kapow. There you go. You guys know how to do all this shit, right? All right, everybody. That's 4 shows today. That's how we do it here at the Beckett Down Show. We talked about baseball, talked to the guys from the Digital Underground. We talked to a lady who's like, I'm going to go live my life. And she wanders, wakes, and repeats and just has amazing adventures. Go to her website. And also, we started the day off with my buddy Mohammed, who's trying to start a new political party in Iraq. You tell me, another show that does all that in one day. All right, everybody, I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks.